On today's tutorial, we'll be learning how to make this very beautiful wide leg jumpsuit with this keyhole designed at the upper top part and also at the sleeve hem. This is going to make a great tutorial because it is going to look good on you, whether plus size or a very slim person. You're welcome to Sew Junkies. So we're going to be using about 4.5 yards of fabric altogether, and then for the trouser we're going to be using about 46 times 2. 46 times 2, that's the inches we'll be using. So that 46 times 2 will make about 92. So that 92 you are going to fold into 2 and then into 4, leaving 2 inches excess. That will be for the back. So for the top part, what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark out the middle of that 22. We're going to mark out the middle of that 22, both at the hem and at the waistline. So once you're done with that, you're going to connect the lines together, that middle, because we're going to be working from this middle line to the left hand side and also to the right hand side. So if you're done marking out that line, you're going to mark out your crotch. The crotch measurement you are going to use is about your regular crotch line. Your regular crotch line, if it is about 10 inches, we're going to be adding 3 inches or 4 inches extra to mark out your crotch line. So like I said, if when you're making trouser you use 10 inches, add 3 inches extra, you get, that's that. So from this point on, we're going to be working from that middle line. So now what we're going to put here is your hip measurement divided by 4. So now hip measurement divided by 4, you are going to put it, you are going to divide that hip measurement divided by 4 again into 2, because you are going to be putting on the left and you're going to be putting on the right. So let's assume your hip measurement was 9 inches, 10 inches. You're going to put 5 from the middle line and 5 on this line, and then you had half inch for the same allowance you get. So please just go with me, and that is the same thing you're going to put on the waist, your hip measurement divided by 8 altogether. Let's just say your hip measurement divided by 8. So because if it is hip measurement divided by 4 divided by 2 again, it is hip measurement divided by 8. That's 1/8 of your hip measurement. So you are going to connect the line on the crotch to the waist from what you've marked. So the next thing we're going to do is to add your thigh measurement, and what we're going to do is to divide the thigh into 2. We're going to divide the thigh into 2, and we're going to take the measurement from the left hand side, or rather from the right hand side, from the side of the trouser. We're going to take that measurement. We're not going to be dividing that thigh divided by 2 again, you get. So if your thigh was 20, we're going to divide it by 2, and then we're going to take the measurement from the end of the fabric crossing the middle line. We're not going to be using the middle line. So from here I'm going to fit my back front waist. The front waist, I'm going to divide my waistline by 8 inches. Whatever I have, I put to the left and I also put to the right. You know, the regular thing we do is to divide by 4, but for the purpose of this tutorial, because we're using a free hand, we're just going to divide by 8, since we're working with a midline, and then we're going to connect that crotch line to the waistline. So right now you now have a fitted waist, and then for the back we'll get to it. So from that thigh point, we just connect to the hem on a slant. You can see I slanted, and then we'll also do the connection of the side to the hem. You can see what I am doing. I'm just going to connect it to the hem on a slant, because it is something like a flared, the bottom is wider than the upper part. So if it was a pattern, you are going to slash through that middle line and then you are going to spread it. But this is a freehand and this is going to work. Now you are sewing with working with floral crepe or any other fabric, this is just going to work. So I'm just telling you that at this point, make sure you don't miss out that extra 3 inches or 4 inches of crotch. If not, your private is going to cry. It may not even fit because it's almost going to cut you out. So the next thing you're going to do is we're going to measure 2 extra inches for the back crotch, and once we are done with that, we'll also connect that 2 inches point to the hem of the back. Don't forget, we added 2 extra inches for back. Please, if you do this and you don't get a good result, let me know. This is really great. This is something I sew for someone to wear, so it's not I'm just showing you all the mistakes will be hidden. No. So now what I did is that the back is not going to be fitted. The back is going to be having about a dart. Is going to be having a dart. So I fitted the front waistline. I'm not going to fit the back. So the lines, the previous line I marked out, the hip measurement that I marked out on the waist earlier is going to serve for the back. So I'm not going to add or remove any extra. So if you have a big butt, that extra 1 inch at the back will be okay. But if not, you can increase or reduce your dart line just as you make trouser. We've cut a lot of trousers multiple times on this channel. You can check our trouser pattern out and let us know if you are still confused. So we're just going to cut out our markings. Don't forget, we always cut out our back markings first before we cut out the front marking. That way it is just easy to avoid any form of mistake. Please, if this is your first time on this channel, you haven't subscribed and you're just passing through, please don't pass through without giving us a like or drop a comment for us, or at least be our new subscriber. So we're done cutting the trouser. The next thing we're going to do is to cut the back. So this person I'm making this outfit for is not really busty, but if you are a busty person, you can make this top part into a princess darted bodice. But for this person, I just made it a normal bodice with dart. I did a darted bodice. I did not make it a princess dart. So what I just did here was to just cut it out so it will be easy for me to actually work with. So I'm trying to make sure the fabric will be enough for me. So now that I'm done with that, so I'm just going to mark out my shoulder plus ½ inch. Please, anytime you're working with a freehand, you're working with freehand on pattern, please try as much as possible not to forget to add your seam allowance. If you don't add your seam allowance, you're going to be taking from the fabric, you are going to be taking from your markings, and then you're going to end up shortening your measurement on the outfit. So this top part is going to be with lining. So the first thing I'm marking, after marking the armhole depth, I marked out my waistline. I'm marking out my waistline. So please mark out your waistline, and we don't want any excesses. So I'm going to be adding side dart to this particular bodice. So if I used pattern, I would have transferred the side dart to the waist, and then I'll now end up having a very large dart on the waist. But I'm just going to add side dart to this pattern. It will make everything nice and easy, so that we don't have any budgings at the back, we don't have any excess at the back, or any gallop any excess at the back, you know what I mean. So I'm just going to mark that out. So I'm going to mark the waist. Whatever I divide the waist by 4, I had 1 inch for allowance, for that allowance, and then I added 1.5 for seam allowance. So I'm going, out of the 1.5, I'll be using half for lining, and then I'll be left with 1 inch. So I have that much for my trouser. I have that much for my trouser, so there will be no excess or shortage on either of them. So once I'm done here, I'm just going to show you how I cut out that design on the neckline. Please, if you have any questions, let us know. So I mark out the neck as 3 inches by 3 inches. So that's your normal regular neckline, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. So here, if you counted on the thumbnail the number of holes at the neckline, you see that it was 5. So the depth I used was, I determined how deep that keyhole is going to end, and I used 7 inches. So for the neckline, I have 2 markings. I have 3 inches and 3 inches and then 4 inches. So what I did is I just took out a piece of pattern paper. So I just did a freehand cutting. So I made sure that the first width I used was 1 inch, but I later trimmed it out because I saw that from the picture we're working on, the neckline wasn't straight. The design wasn't covered it down and then straight. It was curved. It is an oval shape, something like an oval shape. That's what we're working with. So I just ended up using about 3.5 long pattern, folded it into 2, and then I just, on the top part, I used 1/4 of an inch. That's 2 lines on your tape, and that's what I have. So you can see it came out all together. That top part, by the time you open it, you have half an inch at that top. So I just trimmed it to perfection. I'm very sure this will not be difficult for you. So altogether, you can say 3.5 by 0.5 inches. That's what I used, and it came out pretty well. So by the time you're done like this, you are just going to place it from that first neckline of 3 inches. You're just going to place half. You see the way I folded? I'm just going to place half. I'm not going to open it yet, because the front part at that point, it's on fold. So I'm just going to use that as my pattern to cut out the keyhole, the neckline design, whatever you call it, for this wide leg palazzo or wide leg jumpsuit. So if you are making it into a trouser as a wide leg, you could have just ended at that first part, but I'm telling you that this is really beautiful. You can turn this neckline into a dress, and it will also come out very perfect. So from that first point, I measured 2 inches, and then I placed the pattern again because we have 5 all together. Then I measured 2 inches again, and I placed the pattern, and I just drew it out. This was, it wasn't much of a struggle because the neckline design was just out there for you to see and determine how it came out. So this is how I got that neckline design. Don't forget, I've already done all my markings, my shoulder, my armhole, my waist, I've put all my markings. So here I'm just going to cut out all of my markings. Please, if you've watched this far and you haven't subscribed, please be a subscriber today. You will not regret it. And if you haven't liked this far, please like. It is very, very important that you like our videos. If you enjoyed it, you should let us know by clicking on that like a button so that we'll know. And if you have any questions, let us know. If this was a video that you enjoyed thoroughly, be in the comment section, let us hear it. And if you have anything you want to tell us, you want us to know, let us know, please, in the comment section. The comment section is where the magic really happens. So you are just going to follow your markings. Another trick I did is I just when I was cutting out, I just give space, like a little bit of space, so that I have space for allowance, for sewing allowance. I have space enough to sew something like maybe about 1/4 of an inch. So that's what I did. I didn't just cut out exactly. That's why you can see that there's still little bit of close up. So by the time you finish sewing, you see that it is a little bit more opened than what you see right now. You see how beautiful the cut out came out. It is really, really beautiful. It is something that I'm sure that you like to make for yourself, and you will look beautiful in it. This could be your Easter outfit. I think so. If you actually watch this video today and you actually practice it today, you definitely have something to wear for Easter. So this wide leg tutorial was really nice, and it didn't really stress me too much. So at this point, I'm just marking out where my dart was going to be. So it is always far easier when you do that markings. So the next thing is I'm going to be cutting the back. Like we know, I'm going to be using the front as a guide, taking into interest that the difference between front and back is mostly our zip allowance and armhole. So most of the time we just ignore that armhole side, especially because you are not a plus size. But if you are a plus size, you know it will not be okay to ignore that difference in armhole for the back and the front. So we're just going to place the front on the back like so. We're using about 1.5 inch allowance for the zip, and then we're just going to cut out the slanted shoulder. The neckline was 1.5 by 3 inches. The neckline was 1.5 by 3 inches, and then we'll just cut out the armhole like so, and then we will be almost done with the back. We're going to slant 1/2 inch like we always do from that back, so that the back sits nice and smooth, no excess and no extra. So at this point, you see that I actually cut the back and the front together, but I later took out 1 inch from the back. It is very important to reduce that bulge from that back. Thank you. You can see what I did. That's my ruler is an inch ruler. It is an inch wide, so I don't just bother having to remeasure, because I've measured that ruler several times. So it's something I like so much. If it breaks, I'll buy another one. If it breaks, I'll buy another one, because of that 1 inch quick measurement that it gives me. So I'm just cutting out that 1 inch. This 1 inch is going to be what we're going to be using to create our dart at the side of the front. And you can see I'm just notching out that part. So this was really interesting. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, please share, comment. Please, I'm begging you, share our videos to your friends. Let people know that something great is here. This wide leg jumpsuit is really interesting. You can make it with an English fabric, you can make it with plain fabric, you can make it with floral fabric, and you will definitely find it very flattering for your body type. So once we are done cutting the back, we're going to be cutting the sleeve. And then the pocket. Everything is just going to be nice and easy. So if you haven't subscribed, please don't let anything stop you. Don't let anything hold you back. Just click on the subscribe button, and then before you leave that environment of subscription, just give us a like. It will mean so much to us, and definitely YouTube will know that you enjoy this video so that it can keep recommending our videos to a larger crowd. For all the old subscribers we have on this channel, we say God bless you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. You have been with us from the very first day, and we are growing. We keep growing with your help and with God's help, and we're just saying thank you and welcoming new subscribers. As God will help us, we have plans to increase our wardrobe by making clothes ourselves, improve our work, improve our tailoring, and also increase our wardrobe. That's the plan for this year, and so far we've made over 15 outfits on this channel in just this year, and I'm sure if you follow through with all the tutorial, you too must have grown your wardrobe with 15 gorgeous outfits. Isn't that a great thing? So for this pocket, is going to be an invisible pocket. It's going to be an invisible pocket, so you're just going to fix it like we fix on dresses. So it's not going to be the normal regular pocket style pocket bag that we do for trouser. This particular pocket is going to be an invisible pocket, and that will be all. So if you have enough material, you can make it as long as you want. So now we're done. We've cut the trouser, we've cut the pocket, we've cut the bag, we've cut the front bodies, and we are ready to go over to the sewing machine. So God bless you so much for watching this far. We have a lot of content on our page that will be of interest to you, so please do well to check them out. So on the sewing machine, what the first thing I did was to place my gum stay, a light gum stay, on at the back of the cloth. I just placed a light gum stay so that by the time you sew, that place is not just falling apart. And then I used my pen. I didn't cut it out. I just used my biro, your pencil, your chalk, if you have a fabric pencil, to just mark it out so that I know that where I'm sewing is just the right place and I'm using the correct seam allowance to actually sew it out. So you can see this, I had to show you this part, that this is what you will do, this is how you will sew it, and it's just going to be easy for you. So please, if you don't have a gum stay, try as much as possible to get a gum stay. If you actually make this outfit without a gum stay and you do with a gum stay, you actually see the difference. So if you actually want your neckline to actually come out great, apart from this particular design, even if it's just a slit, always try as much as possible to add a gum stay at that point, because that gum stay is just going to give it that firmness that you need around that area. So this is exactly what you do to all 5 of our cutout, and you will be done. So we're done sewing. Once you're done sewing, you're just going to cut the side. You saw how I sewed it. I didn't sew the top part because I'm going to be using bias to close it off. I'm going to be using bias to close everything off. So it's the bias that is going to be closing this, be sealing the top part off, and then I'll just add a bead to that part of the neckline. So it really came out beautiful. Like I always tell you, practice make perfect. That's one thing I'll always tell you here. If you don't practice what I'm teaching you, you may not be able to grasp totally what I am saying. And if you are new to sewing, please don't be shy. Ask questions in the comment section. This should be easy if you actually get a guide. This video is sufficient on its own to actually tell you what to do in this video, but if you are a beginner, please ask questions as you go, and make sure you are not using someone else's fabric or a customer, a friend's fabric for this tutorial. Let it be yours, something that in case of gbege, you face it, it is yours. You can just keep it aside and turn it to another design. That's what I used to do as an apprentice. If a particular design doesn't come out the way I wanted it to come out, I'll just change the style. I can't waste fabric because of what. So here you have it. I'm done with that neckline, and I'm going to finish it up with bias. So the next thing is I'm going to sew the trousers. I'm going to be sewing the trouser part. I'm going to join the crotch, take it to the weaving machine, weave it, and then sew the pocket on the side, and that will be all for that. Then I'll add the front bodies to the trouser and the back bodies to the trouser. So you can see what I did for the back. I started halfway. I didn't start. I left space where the zip is going to reach, and I just close up. I measured. I left about 7 inches length of zip, and then I just closed up the remaining part. So I added pocket to the side, measuring 2 inches from the waist. I measured 2 inches before adding the pocket. So the pocket started 2 inches away from the waist line. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. So this is the outcome of the bias that I added to the neckline. You can see it came out very well. It came out very well, and it was a little bit tricky in the sense that now the cutout was just flying in place, so you have to make sure you just guide it with your hand while using the bias on it. So that's all for this particular tutorial. We are just going to join the both front and back at the shoulder, and then you do the side. You had your sleeve, and then had your zip, and then you join the side, join the hem, and that will be all. So please make sure you iron your dress. Make sure the work is actually easier, and you actually get to see the neat side of your project when you have light enough to iron. So please just iron your work as you go. And for the sleeve, I just did the same cutout for the neckline using the same pattern, the pattern that I cut out on the brown paper. That's what I also used for the sleeve, and I just did 2 for the sleeves, 2 for each sleeve, and it came out well. So you're just going to mark out your measurement on the jumpsuit, and you will have this very beautiful addition to your wardrobe. It came out very well, and I am really so proud. You can cut out 2 inches and wide length of doll face or any black crepe that you have, and it will just serve as the belt. Thank you so much for watching. We're so happy to have you here today. So please watch out for other of our tutorials. See you next time. Bye.